Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back once again to your boy's channel. You already know who it is, back with a brand new video. And if you're new here, please hit that like and subscribe button. The reason I'm doing this video is simply because I gotta talk about the situation with James Gunn. You know, man, the co-head of the DC studios. As you know, man, Supergirl has not been looking good at the box office, tracking to lose, I believe, $100 million. And I still ain't seen the movie, man. I know. I do want to see it just because I see a lot of people talking about how bad it is. It's got me curious, but I just haven't made time to get to the theater and see it yet. But the reason I'm doing this video is simply because I want to talk about the state of the DCU. And currently we've had two major movies, Superman and Supergirl. And then I believe after this we got Clayface. I know Lanterns is coming, but that's a TV show. At, if from the top of my mind, I think those are the only two projects we got as far as TV show slash movies coming out. I'm trying to think of something else, but I could be wrong. But I know there's a Superman movie coming out next year, Lanterns coming out this year, and then we got Clayface. And um, I gotta think. I maybe have to look it up because I'm trying to think what else is coming out. But at the end of the day, man, it's like the current state of the DCU ain't really looking too good, man, as James Gunn being the co-head. And the reason I say this is simply because not just because Supergirl lost money and I believe Superman made money, but like I said, I wasn't a big fan at the time. It's just a simple fact that like James Gunn is greenlighting these side projects, side characters that nobody asked for. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like if he would have started with obviously we got Superman, but eventually somewhere along the line Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, the main character line, Wonder Woman of the DCU, I think we would have a much different um perspective of James Gunn running DC. The issue is that, he's giving us these side characters that nobody asked for. And the reason it worked with Guardians of the Galaxy is simply because he we got those characters after the DCU is already established, and you trying to start the DCU and make these characters established, and it's not working, man. You gotta give us the big heavy hitters first, and then give us the side characters because what you giving us so far ain't working. Nobody cares. It's unfortunate, but nobody cares. Supergirl should have came a little further down the line than when she did. This other characters that the main everyday fans, Creature Commandos, and I'm trying to think, Peacemaker, LA John Cena, all that stuff should have came a little bit later down the line, man. Giving this stuff first, it just really shows that James Gunn is really trying to ringlight his own stuff instead of giving us what's most important to the DCU. And it's disappointing, man, because like I said, big fan of John Cena, been a fan of years. I never really got a chance to watch Peacemaker, but I think that's probably like the only other thing that's been a success with Superman outside of everything else. Who knows how Clayface is gonna turn out? Like I said, Supergirl lost money. Of course, you got Superman coming out next year, and he's still trying to figure out the situation with Batman. The only reason I think he's still trying to figure it out is simply because when you look at um what's going on with Robert Pattinson playing Batman right now. Obviously, it was a success. So the studio was like, yeah, we gotta release a sequel. So I think that's the only reason that movie is still sitting in limbo as far as James Gunn's Batman. But it's like every time I turn around, this man keeps greenlighting project after project after project, and it's not originally part of the DC lineup. It's like I get it. We live in a world where superheroes and things like that are already established. So recently, we got the announcement of a Bane and Deathstroke movie, and it's like, nah, dog, slow your roll. I get it. Those are two big DC characters, Batman villains, but it's like, nah, dog. Give us the Batman first. Like I said, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Green Lantern, the DC Justice League characters first. Not a Justice League movie, but the Justice League characters first. Get them established, and then give us the rest of the side characters, man. You keep giving us these side projects, trying to get fans excited, and really all fans want is the main characters that are in this timeline. I get it. We saw a lot of these characters already in the DCEU, so maybe that's why he was like, I want to go a different way with the DCU. But it just feels like you're just rewritten a lot of your own projects, and that's not what the fans want to see. The fans want to see um the main characters, and like I said, it wouldn't be completely the same from what you did, James Gunn, because obviously, your storytelling will be different than what we got from Zack Snyder's storytelling. So, my opinion, man, yeah, you have to clean this up, bro. We need the main DCU Justice League characters to get their stories told before you jump into any of these side characters. Like I said, it worked with Marvel, but that was because Marvel already had their world established before we got this far into the DC. Before they got into the MCU universe. You understand what I'm saying? So, and looking at things and the way they're going with side characters coming first, it just ain't working. Supergirl just didn't move the needle. I don't believe Clayface is either. And I was watching some what John Campion had to say a little while back. And he was basically saying how, at first it was basically about establishing the DCU, and then eventually it was about making money. At this point, it is about making money because, you're gonna be a handful of projects in, and even though we 2 movies in, but eventually you're gonna get a handful of projects in, man, and the money has got to start rolling in because if the DC universe keeps losing money, everybody's gonna be looking at you like, well, should he lose his job? People are already calling for your job now. But the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, I don't think so. Not yet. Simply because if you let go of James Gunn, what's gonna happen then? They're just gonna hire some other stooge to replace him. And then the other guy is gonna be stuck with what James Gunn left us with. And so then he's gonna have to kind of retool the DCU under what he wants to do, or B, they restart all over again, and it's gonna look really bad because it's gonna be like the second restart in so many years, and obviously it's just gonna be a huge financial loss for Paramount slash Warner Brothers because they can't afford to have the DCU restarted again for the third time in such a short amount of time. So at the end of the day, man, we're just going to ride this out with James Gunn. I know a lot of people are calling this job because of Supergirl as a failure. I hope he sits back and really looks at the landscape and say, okay, maybe I messed up. Maybe I need to really readjust the DC lineup. Maybe, it's too late and he'll have to try a little later on. I think he only has a couple more years on his contract. And then I think Warner Brothers will Paramount and see what they go from there, and then make their decision. But I don't think James Gunn getting fired right now was the best decision, simply because, like I said, if they fire him, then what? Because that's the only thing I've heard from a lot of people is they gotta let James Gunn go because of all these failed projects. But if they let James Gunn go, what happens after? That's the main thing a lot of people have not been talking about is what happens after. The fallout. They hire somebody else. He comes in to work with James Gunn already gave us, and the studio moves forward, or they end up trying to restart all over again, and it only makes things worse. So you got to think about the outcome, not just fire James Gunn, but what happens if they let James Gunn go and bring somebody else in. What's the fallout? So anyway, post your comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Thank you for supporting my channel. I'll catch you on my next video, and I'm out. Peace.